It's lovely visually today. 52 degrees, a little chilly. It was beautiful yesterday. It was like, I don't know, it must have been high 60s or so. I don't even know, but there was a warm air coming up from the south. It was very nice. Very windy by evening. And I know this because we had our occasional cigar night. Usually we have it at Ralph Siegel's. Last night we had it at Doug Dowd's, and we had a nice fire going, and that thing was like a blacksmith's fire, man. That was roaring because the wind was constant, but it was nice. I enjoyed it. It was a very relaxing cigar night at the campfire at the Dowd's residence. Very nice place. I'd like to thank Doug for having us over. Yeah, and now it's 52 degrees, so that warmth was just a tease. But that's how it goes. It's November. We're lucky we got warmth at all. No show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. No AG today tonight, for the simple reason that we didn't have a guest booked, which normally wouldn't be a reason to cancel. I like having the occasional show with no guests so that we can kind of just reconnect with the crew, and the crew can reconnect with you. But I have a lot of work to do, and Thursdays tend to be a not necessarily not a wash of a day, but they're days where, you know, we don't really get much done because, for example, you know, the Tavern Talks. If I were to edit the Tavern Talks, I would not just do it for an hour or two. I would do it up until people start arriving and then go right into the show. And at that point, I'm just mentally drained and I don't really have much to give to the show. And that's just a waste of everybody's time. So I said, you know what? I got to catch up on work. So I'm going to go in late and work later. Bring my dinner with me, work later. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take advantage of that time to catch up on work. Yesterday, we wrote and began shooting a commercial for Patreon, the feature that, you know, we don't talk about enough, but you can gift Patreon to the Getty's Nerd in your family or friend circle. And, you know, perhaps you're a spouse of a freeloader, and the freeloader really loves the show, but for whatever reason has not decided to become a patron. You can get a gift membership for him or her for, what, I think a month up to a year. And, you know, I never really talk about that. I don't really promote Patreon as much. I always kind of do it as a joke because it's just embarrassing. You hate having to do that. I don't like to do that. I'm not a person who really likes to ask for support because I can't stand when I'm watching a show and they do it. But you got to do it. That's just the nature of the beast. So, you know, you do it, you whatever. So anyway, we started making a commercial. It features Court and Mikey B. I'm behind the camera, and Tad makes an appearance in the shot. And excuse me, bless me. And the scenes we shot yesterday turned out to be pretty funny. Mike and Court are very good, and it was fun. And so, unfortunately, we don't have time to shoot more until next Wednesday. But the beauty of it is, it's meant to be that every scene, something is slightly different. Either Court's wearing a wig, or, you know, somebody's wearing a jacket and then not in the next, or the places we're at make no sense. They're going on a walk, Court and Mike, and where they're walking in the order that they're coming, you're going to be like, well, that's not anywhere near that. Like, how is this walk going? And that's the whole point. It's supposed to be incongruous and disjointed, and, you know, a little funny, while we you know, give you a serious sales pitch. So that's how all that goes. Matt Gillespie, thank you very much for the super chat for coffee. That is where I will be terminating this drive today, and I appreciate it. Good morning, Gail. Good morning, 6 Questions. Yeah, Mikey, that commercial will be funny. I think. Hopefully I can edit it together well. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. That is one of the first steps in trying to salvage addressing Gettysburg and grow it into something new. So we'll see if that actually pays off and works. Phil, good morning. Matt, good morning. Babber, good morning. Lots of jives. Yeah, well, you know, I believe I used to do them almost every day, at least 3 a week. And you know, when I stopped doing that, I noticed that was one of the things that contributed to the hit YouTube hit me with, was that I wasn't putting out as much. So, you know, I try to do that. The problem is, you know, some days I just really am not talkative, or I'm in such a cranky mood that it wouldn't do any good to do one. And so I don't. And, you know, it's been a pretty stressful year, so I haven't been in a jovial mood very often, to be honest with you. And I have to fake it when we record a show. And but really all I'm thinking about is what's bothering me. So it's hard enough to fake that funk and then to come and do it. And at least I have people to play off of, which kind of makes it a little easier. But it's hard when you're doing a monologue for an hour to, you know, keep it up. Good morning, 60-second PVI. Eric Houston, hello from Chickamauga. And that's how you say it, folks, not Chickamauga. It's not spelled that way. It's not spelled that way. Amen. Morning, high velocity rips. Is that a flatulence reference, or what is that? Ty Webb, addressing Gettysburg Patreon. Why go out for the free burger when you can stay home with the $15 steak? Absolutely. Absolutely. Who cashed? Did I say it right? I don't think I did, because I always put the T at the end. I feel like it needs to be more before the sh, but it's hard for me to get that in there. I'll practice. He says, thank you, Matt, for all you do. I have a busted foot right now. That sucks. And I think you mean not sure if I can participate in the parade next weekend. If I'm there and I see you, hopefully I can shake your hand. You certainly can. And if you can't participate, come over to the porch at Bantam Roasters. We will be there, and we will be recording coverage of the parade. Another blue sky day, indeed. High velocity, indeed. Ken says, good morning. Good morning, Ken. Phil, thank you for the... Oh, and Pukasht, thank you for the... what do you call it? Super chat. And Phil, thank you as well. Robert says, you fake it well. Well, thank you. I guess that's why I do this for a living. You know how to fake it. We need sassy Matt on these drives. Well, you'll always get sassy Matt, but you don't want my life is over, the end of the world, all I've worked for is crumbling in my hands, Matt. You don't want that. And that's what I'm trying to spare you of. Or spare you. That's what I'm trying to spare you. But I'll always be sassy. I don't like sassy. That's not a word I like, but Jersey. Why don't we just call it Jersey? Always be Jersey. Like this one here. Moving so slow. Speed limit's 40, we're going 46. Why aren't we going 50? Let's see here. Well, maybe I can get a little sassy. Give me a topic. Let's see what we can vamp on here. Anybody have a topic? Let's see what we can do. Get the brain working. Weirdest thing in my fridge. That's a good one. I like that. Weirdest thing in my fridge. Let me go through here. Let me go through the doors first. There's the doors. Just your typical condiments. No, nothing there. All right, let's go on the top shelf. Let's see, top shelf. There's that. That's just regular old food. I don't really know. See, I don't even know if these are weird, but okay. One is I have a loaf of butter. It's Amish made. It is like a big roll. They don't call it a loaf, but it is huge. You cut it off in slices, and the way I prepare my beef, especially, I use butter. And why go with little squares from a stick when you can get a loaf? So I have a loaf of butter. That might be weird because most people, I think, stick to sticks or, a full bar. And not everywhere sells Amish butter in a loaf. So that might be strange. And what was the other thing I was thinking of that would be strange? What the hell was the other thing? God damn it. There was one other thing. It was just in my head. Loaf. Well, it'll come to me. That's all I could really think about there, though. That's about it. Not too many weird things in the fridge. I almost had it. Jersey Matt, not to be confused with Jersey Mike's. No sandwiches here. Nope, cut the bread out. Garrick says, what time are you starting the show tonight? Sorry, Garrick, you missed the beginning. We're not doing the show tonight. Sorry, you guys can't place bets. But I have too much other work to do, and we don't have a guest, so I'm going to take the opportunity to cancel the show and catch up on other work. A lot of editing projects to do. Garrick said, 60 Seconds says, no AG today. Yeah, okay, there you go. Wunderbunke says, woohoo. He's happy that there's no AG today. Ty Webb says, topic for discussion. Duran Duran was neither Duran nor Duran. Discuss amongst yourselves. That's true. That is true. They were neither Duran Duran. No one that I'm aware of in that band had the surname of Duran. Ty Webb says, I was worried you might answer human head as the strangest thing you have in your fridge. Not anymore. We got rid of that. Can you imagine opening Jeffrey Dahmer's refrigerator? The cop that opened the refrigerator. That guy. I think he ran out of the apartment and puked, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe he didn't puke, but he just couldn't handle what he saw. Like, it just shocked him. I mean, rightfully so. Good Lord. Matt, are you a Scrapple fan? Yes, I am. Or is anyone else? I never liked Scrapple. Okay. But I like pork roll. Yeah, so I became a fan of Scrapple after moving here. I find it to be interesting to the taste buds. Although, since I cut bread out, I don't really eat Scrapple a lot because there's some kind of something in there. And, but pork roll, I mean, as a breakfast meat goes, I say you can't beat pork roll. And the reason why I say that beats bacon is because, depending on where you go, sometimes they don't cook bacon to my liking. Okay, I don't like bubblegum bacon where you're chewing the fat. Don't like that. I want the fat to be just as petrified as everything else, but I don't want it to be burnt. I like crispy bacon. But moreover, you can have bacon. I mean, I've seen people have it with vanilla milkshakes at Five Guys. So you can certainly do more with bacon, and it is not relegated to breakfast. Now, back in New Jersey, we had, what a treat when we were growing up would be if mom made Taylor ham, egg, and cheese sandwiches for dinner. It just hit differently. It tasted better. Maybe because you don't have that morning breath still in your mouth when you're eating it, but it just tasted better in the evening at dinner time. It also always, any food I think tastes infinitely better when somebody else makes it for you, and I think that's just because while you're making it, you might be picking along the way, but also your nose is full of the scent of it, and so you really can't taste it for what it is like everybody else. That's my theory, based on absolutely nothing. Chris with the $20 super chat. Thank you very much, sir. Mis apreciados, which I don't really know if that's what Spanish is for, if that's Spanish for much appreciation, but that's how I say it, okay? And that's my truth. He says, are the roads you drive on today the same as during the Civil War minus the asphalt, of course? Not all of them, no. This road was not here. Here's a good rule of thumb that they tell you. When you are on a road within the park and it is an avenue, you're on Confederate Avenue, that was put in by the government. All right. And if it is a road that either in part or in whole pre-existed the battle. Wheatfield Road is a good example of that. Now, United States Avenue, we were talking about this the other day, actually, and this is my guess. I dare say educated. Vast majority of it, well, not the vast majority of it, but at least maybe half of it is new, but also it was formalized by the government, part on an old farm lane, part divergence from that lane, and that makes United States Avenue, makes it a park road. But when you go down there, as I understand it, the farm lane, you're going down United States Avenue, when you get to the big bend right at the Trossel House, the original farm lane went off into the woods on what is now the horse path. And I would take you down there, but I always lose service right at that very spot that we're talking about. But I think that's, you could pretty much be safe that if I'm not exactly right, I'm mostly right on that. And frankly, as a C student, I'm happy with being mostly right. Actually, that would be a B student, wouldn't it? Oh, who knows? Who cares? This road, the Millerstown Road, was here, but this is not a park road. I believe this is a state road, might be a state road or a county road, but it is not a federal national park road. Also, that's why I do believe that you can use Wheatfield Road as a through street after hours. You can't stop, don't stop and get out, but you can use the road to go straight through. Do not turn off of it, but go straight through to the Tawnytown Road, which is where it'll take you. I would show you that as well, but I also lose service as we get closer to the Round Tops, which are straight ahead of us. Estella says, I keep eye primer in my fridge. Oh yeah, the cooling effect helps to calm down the bags under my eyes. Oh, that's clever. That's clever. Okay, so let me think here. Do I have any non-edible things in my fridge? Well, medication. I have one medication you have to refrigerate, so I guess that. But that, I don't know if that's weird. When I was a smoker, if I bought like a carton of cigarettes, I'd put that in the freezer. And for a while, when I would buy wax candles, I would put those in the freezer. I don't know why. I just did it for some stupid reason. Gaslight Studios Rebooted says, favorite TV series set in the 19th century doesn't have to be ACW. Oh, Lonesome Dove. Well, okay, you're talking series or mini-series? Because as a mini-series, Lonesome Dove, by far the bestest. if we're going full complete series until it's canceled, Deadwood. In fact, I'm on my 8th binging of Deadwood. I finished it like a week ago, and I said, F it, I'm going back, and I started it from the beginning again. Mostly because the language in that show is so Shakespearean almost, or Victorian at least, and very unfamiliar to modern American ears, that I love to listen to it. But with each pass, I actually listen closely to hear what they're actually saying. And what I find is it is helping to increase my vocabulary a little bit, or get it back to what it used to be when I was sharper. I was just talking about this with my dad. He was talking about like forgetting names and things like that. And I was like, well, don't feel so bad, Dad. I mean, I do that all the time. And he goes, yeah, but you're meeting people all the time. And he's like, you got a lot of names going into your head. He's like, I'm retired. I'm not meeting people like I used to, and I just can't remember people's names. And I go, well, because you don't see them anymore. But anyway, also you're in your 70s. You know, what do you want? So that's what I would say, Deadwood. Okay, Gaslight agrees. Deadwood is great. It is. It is absolutely great. And I would love to pull clips from Deadwood to put on my soundboard, but there's too many C-suckers and F-bombs throughout. All the good lines have C-sucker or the F word thrown in there. And, I mean, I guess I could bleep them, but, you know, I don't know. Because Al Swearingen, he's the best at the cursing. And Ian McShane's voice is fantastic. He's one of the best voices ever. Now, the Deadwood movie, if there's anyone from Hollywood secretly watching this and not telling me that you're watching it and making me feel like a loser, if there's anyone from Hollywood who's secretly watching this, can you just get the message out that's to stop with the reboots, stop with the member berries, and just either make something new or admit you guys are like a European royal family 7 generations in. You're hemophiliacs because you're all inbred, and it's too incestuous, and you got to get some new blood into Hollywood, people with fresh ideas, fresh stories, and use them. Stop going back to the old well that we're just getting bored with. And you're not even remaking them better. I'm talking about remakes. But then in the case of the Deadwood movie, and supposedly David Milch, the writer, who's like a genius, was in the early stages of Alzheimer's disease. I'm sorry, my rear view does not hold this phone up well, and that's why the angle keeps dropping. Anyway, he was in the early stages of Alzheimer's, and so it just didn't have the punch of the last one. Plus, you know, it's 10 years later, but everybody's 20 years older. And Trixie and Saul Starr are just about to have a baby. They've been together for 10 years. Come on, people. Come on. Enough. And it was just a bunch of member berries. And when you have to play flashbacks of the final episode of the series to remind people of what you're referring to, you lost me. Robert Bruce says, envious. Been there from Michigan 6 times. First time at 11. Actually corrected a tour guide who said that the charge of Laws Brigade on Little Round Top came straight on. I told him that it was a flank attack. There you go. Ty Webb. And I think a lot of us can say the same thing, Ty. Ty says he learned English from watching Woo in Deadwood. Me too. Swidgen. Hangdai. San Francisco Sea Sucker. Gaslight says, if you do bleep them, it would be F-word hilarious. Okay, I'll do it. I'll pick some of my favorite Al swearings and there's like a compilation on YouTube. I'll just grab some from there and I'll bleep them. There's a great one when the scene when Woo comes to Swedgen to tell him about the San Francisco Sea Sucker who, I guess, stole the dope that Woo was about to sell to Swedgen. And the language barrier makes for a very comedic scene because he refers to the dope as juice, but Woo hears Jew, and one of the characters is Jewish, and they refer to him as the Jew sometimes, and he thinks he's talking about him. Woo thinks that he's talking about him, and now he's getting upset because there's like a third party involved that he didn't know about, and he thinks he's being squeezed out or whatever, and then there it becomes a whole thing. No, the juice, the dope, and it's a funny scene. There's some funny scenes there, but it's a brutal show, which is made. It's just fascinating. If you haven't watched Deadwood, give it a try. Give it an honest try, and try to skim through or filter through the Shakespearean language. Put it with the subtitles on, so you can read the words they're saying and understand. It's easier, I think, because sometimes people mumble, or maybe I'm just hard of hearing, or both. Gaslight says, I've been writing some of my own stuff for what I hope will be a YouTube drama series about organized crime and I love that stuff. And North New Jersey, if you want me to write any ACW stuff, I'd be delighted to do so. Gaslight, I need to team up with a writer, like a person who fancies himself a writer, who really has learned the craft of writing, because I have ideas, but I just haven't met the right people yet, and some of the right people, but not all the right people. And so, yeah, we should talk. Shoot me an email or an electronic mail if you prefer. It's Matt at Addressing Gettysburg, etc. Yeah, I agree, Title. It will never get old. Kevin says, oh, you're here, Barbara. I just saw your Scrapple post. I don't like it. Wow, Kevin doesn't like Barbara's Scrapple post. What about Scrapple, Kevin? Do you like Scrapple? Robert Bruce says, definitely the funniest scene in Deadwood, Woo and Swedgen. Yeah. Well, yeah, really. I mean, any scene with the two of them is pretty good, because that language barrier always plagues them. And the thing about Swedgen, so I read a book about the real Al Swedgen, and he was a real scumbag. Now, before you go and say, wasn't this Al Swedgen a real scumbag? He was. But I guess they have to, because you won't, I guess, like any of the characters if you don't humanize them, right? But there's moments where Al is human. With the preacher, can't stand to watch him go through his brain tumor seizures, and actually, gives him a merciful ending, even though the doc doesn't want him to. He sneaks in and does it, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember. Does he sneak? Yeah, no, he does. Yes, he does. But it reminds him of his brother. His brother had seizures too, and so he takes a kindness to him, but also to Jewel, who he calls the Gimp. But, somewhere along the line, I think Trixie tells us that he bought her, basically, to protect her. So he's got a soft spot for the weak, which is weird, because he kills one of the dope addicts that steals his dope, And I would think an addict is somebody you would consider weak, or at least weakened by that point. Nah, you're weak to begin with because you allow that to happen. So, you know, he doesn't mind killing them. I don't know. And then by the time of the movie, he's like a proud old dad and everything. You know, and maybe by the time you're really old and you're dying, like, you soften up. I'm sure you do. But, you know, it's a TV show. Why don't you keep him one-dimensional? Yeah, Ty, you could be right. That E. McShane was so good that the audience connected with him. Well, and isn't it? Don't you love to love the villain? Like if a villain is played really well, they're your favorite character, right? Because they've got the most charisma. The good guy has to be vulnerable because he has to overcome the villain. But Tim Oliphant as Bullock is fantastic. I remember when the show came out, I knew of Timothy Oliphant from Scream 2. That's what I remembered him from. And he was like almost like, you know, like a punk goth type of, you know, teen, whatever. And I was like, how the hell is that guy going to play a sheriff? Or, you know, a guy, he wasn't the sheriff right away, but how's he going to play the guy? So I was a little skeptical, but that first scene with him when he hangs the guy, I was like, damn, maybe he can do this. And he obviously did, and he's one of my favorite actors now. I think he's great. Justified was a good show. Kevin says, Pop, I don't like Scrapple, but I like your post about it, Barbara. Yeah, a lot of people don't like Scrapple. I don't know why. I find all the flavors, the spices, everything to come together nicely. I just don't like when they don't. I like it crispy and a little dry. I don't like it all greasy and everything. And sometimes I've had it where it's a little too greasy. So, yeah, it can, if you have it that way the first time, it could be a little too much. All right. Oh, let's see here. Sorry, there's some that I missed in the back there. Definitely the funniest thing to it. Oops. Ty says, plus AP Hill survived long enough to become mayor in that show. Yeah, well, he's William Sanderson, I think his name is. E.B. Farnham, the mayor, and the hotelier. What a slimy character he is, and he's so good at playing it. He played Lippy in Lonesome Dove, the piano player who, when Gus leaves the dry bean to go and on the cattle drive, and he gets back in the wagon, Lippy's sitting there already packed and ready to go. And poor Xavier Wantz has nobody left. Lorena the whore left. His piano player, Lippy, left. And then, of course, we get to the end and we find out that he burned the place down around him. Sorry to ruin it, but you've had almost 40 years to watch that show. Great miniseries. The things they get away with, that was on CBS. And there are, how do I say this delicately? One of the girls I knew in college, she was my friend's girlfriend, and she loved Lonesome Dove too. And one day we were all hanging around on a snow day, and she's like, let's watch Lonesome Dove. So he didn't care, he didn't like Westerns, but we outvoted him. And she pointed out that there are floppy male appendages in the opening of one of the episodes when they're crossing a river naked. And I couldn't believe that got on broadcast television in the 1980s. But it did. And let's see, I'm not seeing anything that I haven't. Always wondered about that cigarettes in the freezer thing. Seemed to be like an old wives' tale. It probably is. I mean, maybe that started when they didn't have plastic wrapping on them, and they were just the paper packs. Maybe that started it, kept them fresh, but, now they're in boxes, the hard packs, and they got the foil inside, and they're wrapped in plastic, and I don't know if that's necessary anymore. I don't know. Good point. Kevin says, Scrapple always been too greasy for me, but not an option now where I'm located. Yeah, that's the other thing. It's not everywhere. All right, I'm going to go get a coffee and go in and begin my work. I'm going to I have an episode that I need to edit and put up with Craig Miller. He has an article that just came out in Gettysburg magazine, and we recorded this a few months ago to be kind of a companion to that. And so I'm going to go put that out. And then I have to get back to editing the Tavern Talks. I will be happy when this is all over. And part of the reason why, I have to be honest with you folks, part of the reason why the Tavern Talk process has been a little hellish is, one, we're kind of learning on the job, right? So there's that. Two, the editing, which I knew was going to take a while, is, like everything else I do, I feel like it's going to be a lot of work for very little views, revenue, whatever. The juice isn't going to be worth the squeeze yet again. And I'm starting to think, should I start to treat this like a hobby, go find a regular job, and just do this stuff occasionally? Because basically, the way, especially when we're talking YouTube stuff, the way the algorithm, the way they mess with it, and they're about to change things in January, which I'm sure are going to hurt it even more, it just makes it kind of not worth the effort anymore. And so I guess that's why I'm dreading doing all this work for it, because I know it's never going to equal the hours put in. The results are never going to equal the hours put in. And so that's kind of that takes the wind out of your sails, I'm sure. Imagine if you had a job or at your job where you got paid basically, well, you do get paid basically if your boss thinks you deserve it, but you have many bosses, and most of them just are happy to have you do the work, right? And only a handful of them are like, well, here, you deserve to eat. After a while, you're going to kind of just not bother to do the work, right? But you got to work. You still got to eat. So you do the work. But your soul is kind of shot. And that's kind of where everything is now. And it's kind of sucks because I love to do this. And I've had such a great time doing it until maybe 2 years ago. And then, and it's not the audience's fault. It's YouTube getting in between me and the audience. You know how you always hear all this talk about, that puts the government between the doctor and the patient. And so we can't do that. And it's like, well, yeah, no, you shouldn't do that. But YouTube puts itself between you and us, people who seek to find you and connect with you. So it is very disheartening. And then that's why we have Patreon. That's why we have DH Pioneers, because that's where you can directly support us and help us out and everything like that. So we'll see how it goes. We'll give it one more year. And if I can't turn things around, then I'll find something else to do. But that's kind of where we are. That's what I kind of feel right now. Not in my heart, but in my head, I'm reading the writing on the wall, and that's kind of the way I'm seeing it. And so we'll see. We'll see what happens. But in the meantime, we must press forward. We must put our nose to the grindstone and still do these things that end up not really doing much for me anymore. So that's what we'll do. After we get a coffee from Bantam Roasters, where you can get a delicious bag of Little Ground Top when you visit, or by going to addressinggettysburg.com/cafe. In the meantime, you guys have yourselves a great day. And David says, it's sad that so many worthwhile ventures are not valued as much as they should be. Well, that's life. That's how that works. And there's a million things that go into why or why not things are valued. And there's really nothing you can do. Well, maybe there is, but I certainly don't have the intelligence to figure it out. And if I did, I wouldn't have the treasure to support doing whatever that is to get more eyes on it. And that's really, it's a numbers game. The more eyes you get, obviously, the more supporters you're going to have, financial supporters you're going to have. But when you're dealing with a very limited potential pool of people interested in a very niche subject, right? You only have so far you can go if you're doing what I do. If you're me, but you know, there's other ways for other people to do better, and they do, and that's not where I am. So we'll figure it out. We'll figure something out. I've always wondered what being a cowboy on a ranch in Montana is like. So maybe I'll just fade off into obscurity and do that, and then I'll have hip problems. Maybe I don't want to do that. I'm too old. It's too bad you don't get more than one life, ladies and gentlemen. You know what I'm saying? Wait, I see you're parked in front of the Jeb Stuart Monument. Are you talking about the dumpster? I hope you are, because that's funny. Yeah. So you guys have a great day. I will see you next time I do this. Oh, by the way, if you missed it, we had an Ask a Guide last night. Our buddy Mikey, 6 Questions Lens, did a fantastic job, along with Tracy Bear, 6Q and the Bear, we affectionately call them. And they did a fantastic job talking about Brandy Station. And I have to tell you, I'm very proud of my friend Mike. He's very good at telling stories, and he's going to make a great licensed battlefield guide once the government reopens and he can take that oral exam. He really loves this stuff. He really loves sharing these stories. He loves the stories, and he loves to share them with people like yourselves, anybody who will listen. And I think he did a great job. So if you missed it, go ahead and find that video last night. Came up last night. Should be there in most recent videos. And enjoy. I hope you enjoy it. Otherwise, have a great day. We'll talk to you later.